Hey, Shahab.
Good morning, Wape.
So John Wilson can't make the meeting. I think this just made our scheduling much easier.
Yeah, I asked him if we can get anybody from that team to talk,
Okay,
but let's see if he gets back or not.
that's fine. I mean, we've got a decent enough schedule, and it's time to sort of
I agree.
um shut the stuff down.
Hey guys,
Hey, Majid, how are you?
Hi, Jay.
not too bad, not too bad. Yourselves? Good? Friday?
Uh, Wait, you're in Switzerland now, right?
Yeah, it's 5 p.m. It's okay.
Oh, so you might even have a beer in your hands.
No, I'm waiting after.
After this meeting.
Sure, sure, for sure.
Well,
And the race is back. Okay.
And he's gotten younger.
I do want to remind you guys that all these meetings are recorded from the moment we join in.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
There's no more record button to kick things off.
Okay. Oops.
All right, Kash, the plan is number one, we'll do Shahab on the D2D5. Number
Okay.
two, we've got a little bit of planning to do on the OCP Experience Center, and then you're number three on the agenda.
Okay. I like number 3.
All right.
It's good. Thank you.
And we'll give it one more minute, and then we will get started. Oh, great. Okay. Shahab, do you want to do the honor? Shahab and Quinn, we made really good progress on the day-to-day 5 workshop. It's looking pretty spiffy now. So do you want to get started, Shahab?
Okay, sure. Just it's an update for everyone. We are receiving so many submission and it's good, and people who supposed to basically fill in the presentation slots, they are confirming. Most probably it's going to be a full day. Our plan is actually to start around 9 or 9:15. We will send basically detailed schedule after finalizing all the numbers. But so far the plan that we have is that we're going to start with a couple of talks for level setting, which is bare bone, bunch of wire and UCIe. What are those two standards? Then we go to basically the selling part of the PHY or vendors who have developed different IPs based on BO or UCIe or others. That would be basically the longest discussion. Then we switch to the panel at the afternoon where we're going to hear from the buyers. hopefully from Google, Meta, and Microchip and others, that what they really like to see from the FI perspective. And we don't want to basically, we find out, okay, all of us we are developing the FI, but it's good also to hear from them what they really want and how they like basically this FIs gets compared. And that would be basically the bridge to the last discussion that we're going to have, which is going to be a kind of open discussion. We really like to hear everybody evaluating the Excel sheet that we are preparing, and if the figure of merits or others parameters that we are measuring is correct, or if they prefer to see something else. Also, in terms of the food and beverage, basically sponsorship, I think Quinn and Elian managed to get that done, and the place is going to be in CMU campus near NASA. Quinn, did I miss anything, or Bobby?
Other than a thank you to Kevin for setting the whole thing up, and Quinn.
You bet. We're happy to help.
I don't think so. I think it's shaping up to a pretty exciting seminar. Excuse me, it's a pretty exciting workshop. We'll have 50 slots Monday the 16th. I think we have about 8 FI submissions already, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or is it 10?
Correct. Around, it depends. Some of them hasn't submitted yet, like UCLA, but they already said they.
Yeah. Okay. So then, but so we have a pretty full agenda, and we're hoping to do a fairly deep dive on FIs. Quinn, anything you want to add?
No, I think you've covered it all. It will be at CMU Silicon Valley campus, so that's sort of at Moffett Field in Mountain View.
It's about 50 people, so we'll see if, depending on whether there's a demand, we'll see whether to sort of make an online version and a Zoom session, etc. I think we're going to figure that out over the next couple of weeks. Is that fair?
Correct. And since everybody's on the call, I think I just want to make a request one more time. We have we reached out to basically 4 groups that we believe they do have a good FI, but they are not participating. If we can get those 4 also on board, that would be great. Cadence, Samsung, AMD, and GUC. If you guys have a better connection to those 4 companies, or anybody online basically representing those, please reach out to me, Quinn, or Bobby. We appreciate it.
I have a quick question on the buyer side. You mentioned obviously the big guys, but what about sort of emerging, tier 2, not tier 2s, or sort of standard package and other directions that are required? I think the hyperscalers, they have certain needs, but how about other categories of buyers?
Can you recommend, then we can see or elaborate more a little bit. We have Microchip also there, which I don't believe we can call them hyperscaler, but they are
Okay.
large company with the interest on die-to-die. But do you have anybody in mind, or any company? Please suggest.
No, I was just actually looking at the market of chiplet, and the segmentation, it's important, and I think the full ecosystem, it's segment specific. So I think the more we could represent those, for example, I don't know, on the automotive or other segments, industrial, IIoT, or industry in general, or other segments that may come to mind. Of course, at this stage is a bit late, but whoever we have, but it's good to...
Mel, it's not too late if you have actual names. The whole point of the workshop is to be flexible.
Exactly. If you know anyone, or you can recommend someone, or you see one topic is missing, please suggest. We are not basically having a very rigid agenda. We are flexible, as Bobby mentioned. I tried actually to get some automotive, but timing is so short, couldn't make it. But if you know anybody who can jump in, for sure, basically, let us know. We will accommodate.
Okay. Let me think about it. Yeah, thanks.
And that
Yeah.
also was for everyone, anybody on call. If you guys want to see some topic that it's missing, or you believe that we have to pay more attention, or you can make the basic introduction to someone, please do so. Reach out to us.
The intent is for this to be a working workshop, not necessarily like a conference style where everybody's presenting away. Any other thoughts, questions?
Question regarding the deadlines. Next, getting the draft presentations at some point.
Correct. I think that the official deadline for abstract is today. Hopefully we get back to you guys on Monday, Tuesday. That's what we really like to see, I think, from the one submitted abstract.
We were originally going to be super prescriptive in what to report, and now looking at some of the discussions I've had offline with a bunch of people presenting ideas, I think we're stepping back from being super prescriptive for now. And then sort of drive towards a more prescriptive, maybe in the second edition or something. There seem to be a lot of interesting thoughts in this space. Okay. Quinn, Shahab, anything else you want to say?
Nothing. Thank you.
No, I think that's good.
Okay. Any questions from anyone else? Okay. Then I'm going to go on to item 2. So one of the things, excuse me, while I get organized. So the OCP put out a blog post that I've been working on, that we've been working on for, this just came out and is a prelude. We'd like to do a similar one on the experience center itself. And ideally we'd like to do a sequence of posts all the way to the global summit. Cliff, I don't know whether you want to speak up here or you want me to keep going. But I put something together about what our whole idea of there's a open chiplet economy that we've been developing since late last year. This captures what the organizing principle is, what our activities are so far, everything, like, things like the CDXML stuff, our BOE specs, workflow white paper, etc. And then what the status is, the fact that we've got working silicon, and how we want people to join us. And so in terms of the experience center, we would like to put together a second blog post on, hey, here's what's being demonstrated, and here's how fits into what we've been discussing in the open chiplet economy. I will build it off these descriptions, some of which are full, some of which aren't. So if you haven't filled in your description, would you please do so sometime before next week, early next week? We would like to take all of these and glue them together into a blog post, a blog that captures what the experience center will what the stands in the experience center will demonstrate.
Bapi, question this, the input you want to use is the demo description, of course, or not the elevator pitch, I suppose.
If you put in whatever you think it is, and we'll try to meld it into a coherent narrative.
Okay. And you had a theme which was chiplet economy is real, I suppose. That was the main.
That was the thing. So roughly here, this one was, what is our idea of a chiplet economy, which is that you need integration across the value chain, and that you need like a set of activities which focus on workflows for design and business and data interfaces, what we've been doing in this space. And this is the status thing that you'd like to use as a jumping off point to say, look, here's people building different things in this space. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cliff, anything you would like to add?
I don't think so, Bobby. Well said. I think, the major effort now needs to go towards building interest and having people come by looking for the experience center and attending the session in the afternoon of in the morning right? Morning of Wednesday. So that's really the job for the moment from this perspective.
And then one thing I really liked about the way John Schaff ran the DOE OCP panel, Chiplet Summit, too many, Chiplet workshop is each of the panels is going to do a report out, and it would be nice if for each of our panels we can get volunteer note takers and we have a similar aggregate document that we can develop as a blog after the workshop. So for Anu's panel, Bill's panel, and Tom's panel, if we take notes and sort of meld them into some kind of a post or a narrative, I think that would be nice after the workshop, after the global summit.
I think that's a great idea to capture the thoughts of the audience of the panel.
So Anu, if you can, I'll chase down your online. If I chase Bill and others down as well, but it would be nice to sort of go. We will get note takers, volunteers to take notes, and then merge them all into some sort of here's the panel's opinion after the fact.
Sounds good, Bobby.
Okay, I'm going to give you. I'll put this link in the chat window. But if you haven't filled in yours for the experience center, and then I don't know, is Jawad on or no Jawad? Marek, if you want to do Marek and Shahab and the other way, if you want to do something in this space for each of the work streams you're on, I think Cliff would be the OCP would be pretty amenable to have something which sort of builds off this basic theme.
Yes, absolutely.
You mean like articles for the blog?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a good idea.
To build on the idea of build more depth into the idea of an open chiplet economy.
Got it.
Okay, so I've seen it. I'm going to use this. Anybody who's in the Experience Center, any other questions? Then, if you can please fill this in. Our logistics wise, we are pretty much where we were last week. We've got the tables. You're getting a small. You're getting. I think David came up with a fairly nice layout for a layout idea for the section, and nothing much. There hasn't been much of a change other than in the logistics. I don't think I'm missing anything. I shared everything I had last week.
On the logistic question, the people who are gonna, man the demo with the staff, should they register or how does that work?
Yes, please. You should register.
Okay, they should register. Okay.
The people staffing the booth should please register.
Right. Or because there was a 800 or something cost. So
Yeah.
That pays, I guess, for things.
That pays. Yeah. Bear in mind that I think the actual Cliff can give us the numbers, but the actual cost of a booth is fairly substantial on the demo floor.
Right.
This is a fairly heavily trafficked floor.
Sure. No, it's just to know because people were asking me.
Yeah, but it is. I thought we could get away. We could get some complimentary registrations, but no, not.
Okay.
Okay. That's it. So if there are no further questions about, nobody has any questions about the
Bapi, I have a quick one. So
of
the
course.
registration part, would that be applying to the panelists as well?
No.
Okay,
The speakers and panelists get a complimentary registration. It is the demo staff that
Got it.
have to register.
thank you.
And David, I didn't see you know, I put a link to a blog on the open chiplet economy. If we can also consider developing blogs for individual work streams that sort of go deeper into the theme from that work streams perspective.
Okay. How many-
Poppy?
Yes.
Sorry, you said you had a layout for the Experience Center. Are you gonna show that or post that so we can see it? And also, there was a question on the table size last week, 3x3 individual versus something shared that was still being worked on, I believe. So I don't know if we
Yes,
have an
that's
answer.
still in flight.
Okay, thanks.
That hasn't been resolved. As when it is, I will update you.
Great, thanks.
But yeah. Yes. So David's idea. So David's layout idea, which he drew on a PowerPoint, was to place the tables at an angle so that and then have each demo be back to back rather than both facing the same side. So you had sort of a separate private area at each end of the table. That was the
Yeah,
that was
I
his,
remember that.
yeah.
I remember.
But we haven't settled on that
Okay.
yet until we what do you call it? We haven't heard back yet on the exact table size we'll be getting. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Got it. Thank you.
Certainly. Any other questions about the demo? Kash, I think it's all you now, if there's nothing else.
Hey, Bobby, while we're just talking about events, it might make sense to let everyone start to put the next events on people's radar. I know everyone's mind is on Summit, but we do have some activity going on at SC23 in November.
Oh, right.
And the other thing is I wanted to put on everyone's radar the Chiplet Summit, which is early February 2024. And we've already set up to have a similar presence to last year and maybe more.
Oh, yes. Okay. Do you want to talk about that now, or you want to save it until you close with the organizers?
We are pretty close. We had a call with the organizers last week, and I believe we've already signed up for a booth for OCP to have the tutorial as last time. And the one thing we're discussing with them is maybe even having some sort of replication of the Experience Center from OCP at the Chiplet Summit, showing live demos, live technology demos. If
Right.
that makes sense. So I think the one that's still open is whether there'd be a meaningful place for an Experience Center, but the other parts are closed in my mind. Yeah.
Okay. And maybe that is a question since we have a bunch of Cliff is exploring the idea of replicating this Experience Center at the Chiplet Summit. So if somebody's on, I'm sorry, I can't see. We're getting some crosstalk.
It's a Jin
Oh, I just
Yang.
realized I'm not an administrator here. Hey, Jin.
$75명인데 선물은 사실은 그러니까 식사가 중요한
Jin?
선물은 저희들 안 받으면 돼서 근데 식사도 75명은
Cliff, we might need Kevin's help because I'm not an administrator either. Hang on, I'll text him.
Bobby, you can claim as a host and then Obi can mute it.
Oh, I can claim the host, right? Okay.
Yes.
Ah, except I don't have the host key. All right. Do you remember the host key?
No, there's a button there, claim the host.
No, but you have to enter key.
Oh, okay. I never tried that.
All right, then we'll figure this out later. Yeah, so bear in mind the idea is that at the Chiplet Summit we recreate this experience center. So if you like the idea, let us know either now or informally later. Then that gives gives room for planning, space for planning.
I like the idea. This is Kevin. That seems like a really good idea.
All right, that was great.
Logistics, if the logistics allow, like I
Right.
said, we're not sure.
Okay, Cliff, there you go.
All right, well, let's explore that, and we'll probably have news after Summit, whether that will get some space to do a similar sort of experience center.
Excellent. All right, Kash, it's all yours.
Okay, thanks, Bapi. I'm just going to share a few slides. We did an announcement with a customer, QuickLogic, I think a week and a half ago. So we thought it would be good to just bring a little more information on what we're doing. Yeah.
I apologize. We said it on the on LinkedIn, but maybe you and Cliff, I hadn't planned this, can also talk about the OCP startup program while you're at it.
Okay.
Sure.
Cliff, do you want to say something first?
I can actually. So first of all, welcome your chips to the OCP startup membership. Let me explain to everyone. We have a initiative for OCP startups, which creates a new tier for startup members that we didn't have before, which offers some additional services for startup members. At the same time, has reduced membership fee. As for those startups that are actually pre-revenue, we make it complimentary. Of course, assuming the startups meet certain criteria, like they're willing to submit a paper to FTS, and they're in one of our strategic markets that we've identified. So we did invite your chip to join, and your chip has joined as an OCP startup member. And so for that, we're very pleased to have your chips on board. And at some point, Cash, if you wanted to write a blog or try to get some amplification for the news release you're going to talk about here, we could host that at OCP and do some promotion. That's part of what we would do for startup members. The other thing is we also, on top of a startup membership tier, we also have initiated a startup program where a subset of the startup members would be invited to participate in the program. And there we have additional benefits of reduced pricing for booths at Summit, for allowing startups to have a chance to be more visible on the exhibit floor. And also time with the foundation team, myself, Bijan, and others, to potentially help with navigating the OCP community for those that are looking for how to do that. And perhaps introductions from Steve Helvey with some of our supply chain members. So that is the startup effort that we've launched this year. Startup members plus program participants. Sorry, Cash, I gave an overview, and now over to you as one of our startup members. Yeah.
No, that's great. And we're very pleased to be part of it. And I think there's some work going on a reduced IoT type PHY that we're very excited about. We're working with Bapi and so on. And we're hoping to add that to the standard by the end of the year, right? So assuming everything goes well. Okay, so I just wanted to introduce what we're doing with that customer and kind of how our view is on the market for chiplets outside of the data center, because we're not focused on the data center, which is where I think everybody else is kind of focused on right now. So our focus is more on edge devices. And I like this old Intel slide where they showed the advantages of, you know, splitting chips up, and the middle is kind of where the market is right now. In the old days, you did a single chip and it took you a long time. There was no reuse. And now the current standard is people are doing very complex chips at the leading edge, but they're still leveraging, you know, chiplets, right? And then the GPU or CPU or the memory may be the latest, and then the IO can be an older technology or N-2. And that reduces your development time, and you start getting reuse, right? That's kind of, I think, where the industry is right now. We're going one step further, which is we are actually doing more of an IP-centric Lego architecture. The idea being that you can tile a large number of chiplets, and basically the end customer can compose a more efficient system. And part of that, I think, is really to increase the amount of reuse, and obviously decrease the time to market. So those are the advantages, and the negative with this is obviously, you know, there are some performance things that I can explain a little bit later. But this is kind of the big picture of what we're doing, which is a little bit different. And for us, the edge devices, as I said, and I call an IoT an edge device, a microcontroller or an FPGA and sensors and so on. So as we all know, AI is moving pretty quickly, and I think AI is going to impact all of these segments that we've talked about. And so, from our sense, the opportunity is these innovations are not really on a 2 or 3 year cycle. They're on a almost feels like a 6-month cycle, but which isn't viable for hardware, but you certainly want to try and reduce the amount of time. So if you can localize that to an AI chiplet and then work with multiple AI chiplets, then that allows people to reuse the other chiplets that they have in their subsystem. So that's sort of the big picture of what it is we're trying to do. We have our own proprietary technology, which also allows us to put devices in a chip scale package, as well as on a substrate. Yep. Is there a question? Okay. And the other key thing is that we introduced an FPGA fabric with QuickLogic that we're building, and we also expect to use that for interop and known good die checking and security, and I think that will be one of the key things that may be of interest to people in BOE and also UCIe and so on when we explain what we're doing. So this was the announcement a week and a half ago. Just very quickly, FPGAs already use chiplets, but they're closed systems, right? So you would just look at an Intel Agilex. There's nothing new here, right? So they have hardened blocks. They use whatever die to die. It's a closed system. Customers can't access it, but it's so interop doesn't matter. It's all about whatever the final device is. The customer doesn't even need to know that they're using chiplets, right? So this has existed for 10+ years now. So what we're doing with our PHY is, as well as a standard PHY, which is on the left, we're also doing a bunch of wires, IoT, UCIe PHY, and that has significant advantages in terms of area, in terms of power, and also suitability for older nodes. If you look at microcontrollers or sensors or IoT devices, they tend to be little d and big A, right? They've got a large amount of analog typically, and that's typically done best in an older process. So we see that as a driving factor. Even though everybody would just like one PHY for all applications, it doesn't necessarily, in our view, it doesn't make sense to have it full. So we're pushing the lower end. Just like there's our other versions for, let's say, advanced packaging where you need even more bandwidth, right? So we're focused on this the standard and the lower end. So in terms of the FPGA, it's a that we've announced. It's a 40K LUT device. It has bandwidth around it. And then the other thing, which is I think pretty important, it has this low latency fabric. Because if you think about it, you've got all these chiplets. You need to send a lot of data between them. So if it has to, you know, so how do you do that, right? So that's the main thing that we're able to do with this tile. And the other key thing is that these tiles can be connected to build up large arrays of FPGA for higher capacity. But it's up to the customer or the end product company to decide what they and how they want to do it. So that's basically the idea behind this architecture. So to get more specific, we have a standard UCI PHY on 4 corners of this fabric. We also have our IoT, which is, you know, 4 lanes. Think of it as, it's actually 8 lanes, but it's 4 RX, 4 TX. We do allow people to go all RX or all TX or go asymmetric. So there's things that we're proposing that are a little bit different, but and we typically have 2 of those on each side, and those will typically run lower speed, but lower power, so that they can interface to devices like IoT or microcontrollers or whatever else, or memory. And so this gives you an idea of what we're doing. But what might be interesting to people is that we do plan on doing third-party chiplet interop, right? And I have some slides that address that, where if you have your UCIe has already announced the concept of a golden die. It at least allows some sort of interop, which is then managed by an external FPGA. In this case, this FPGA fabric can actually act as a golden die and also actually run tests. And I'll explain that a little bit later. I can't talk too much about the fabric that we're doing. We haven't announced it. We're working on it. But the idea is similar to a NOC, which is within a chip. You need ways of transferring data. Now you need a solution which is across multiple chiplets. So it's a new challenge for at least what we're trying to do. And this is something we can talk about perhaps at Chiplet Summit. We are doing this chip scale packaging, and a lot of people think it's not needed, but just as an example, as you know, we've got D matrices, little chiplet, test chiplet, and we got blue cheetahs. And I think at ODSA we spent at least a year and a half working on this substrate and trying to get, and we still don't have anything yet, right? And so the challenge is, if you think about it as an end customer, if you have to buy these chiplets from, let's say, 3-4 vendors, then you have to figure out how you're going to test them, right? Do a test program. You have to design, you have to do the SIPI. It's kind of expensive and it takes a long time. So we really think that there is a market opportunity for us to leverage here. I think we're the only guys doing this right now, but we hope that this will become more prevalent as people realize how difficult it's really going to be for end customers, not for the large integrated semiconductor companies or medium-sized semiconductor companies, but end users to buy your chiplets and then put them together in a timely, cost-effective manner, right? So we think that this will be problematic for a large customer base. The other whole idea that we have with our IoT PHY with a bunch of wires as well as UCIe is to offer that PHY for developers. For example, we're talking to some memory, like flash memory companies, some microcontroller people. And the idea is that if you put this PHY on, and then you could connect that to either to an FPGA, or as AI chiplets come along, or whatever the ecosystem is, it kind of future-proofs the ASSP, right? It's when you have large mixed signal blocks, it's really difficult and expensive to try and generate those every year or an 18-month cycle or whatever. It's just not really viable. So having a low cost, inexpensive expansion slot, if you will, is I think a good way to go. So that's part of our strategy, and we're seeing a fair amount of interest in this concept. So just introduce this concept of once this FPGA is there, it can basically act as a test system. So you can validate bit error rate. You could validate if somebody has redundancy, which is whether they want it or not. For example, in the automotive space, they're talking about using redundancy even with standard packaging for UCIe. They've got a number of other things that they're doing, not just using it for advanced packaging. The other thing is, I think it's relatively straightforward to make the electricals work, but the link layer is going to be problematic. So having the ability to debug your link layer and the logic and then run it, I think is going to really help bring up and fix bugs. And even if you know that this particular AI chip has something non-standard, because there's an FPGA in there, you could actually, adjust the controller for that particular port, and still customers could use it, right? So I think that there's some advantages in doing it that way. And then obviously, if you think about all these chiplets, even if you're going to go a full ASIC later on, having FPGAs to validate all the logic in between, really, and do it quickly at low cost, I think is going to be attractive to customers. So that's some of the ideas behind our announcement with QuickLogic. And we are obviously working initially in two specific areas. We've announced our FPGA solution, and I think in November we hope to announce a RISC-V/AI chiplet with a major partner. So those are the two things that we're announcing. And then on the standard I/O, we are working with a few SerDes companies and so on. So we're talking about chiplets there. But that's some future stuff. But this kind of explains why we did the FPGA first, and then the yellow is the next area that we're working on. Okay, so that's all I wanted to share. Sort of explain the thinking behind what we're doing, and maybe it'll be helpful or give people some ideas on the approach they're taking, or maybe of interest to them. Thank you.
Maybe a very quick question. With this large number of IPs, are you concerned about yield?
I'm not concerned about yield at all, because each individual one, for example, will be tested. It can be put in a CSP package, so we have no known good die issues, which is the first base, right? And then secondly, when we get die, when you have volume, you can really address all the testability issues. We do have, I think I mentioned before, some known good die enhancements to our PHY, without going, rehashing that. I think it's an important area. But yes, I think that there is a yield issue if you have 20 chiplets and versus 4 chiplets, right? There's a clear issue there. there's a performance issue and there's a yield issue. So I think you really need to have a solid known good die solution if you're going to do that. And we believe that we have patented something in that space.
How about power and all these interconnects?
Yeah, the power is well, there is a power cost, but there's also a power advantage, right? Because we're really just doing die to die. So when you do a general purpose design, you really have to put all the different types of interfaces that you need. So for example, if a customer only needs 4 lanes of PCIe, then you would only put a 4-lane chiplet there, right? And a standard company may have to support by 16, for example, right? So I think that there is a trade-off, and you can make the argument both ways. I think the good news is that the power of 0.3, 0.4 picojoules per bit is actually very attractive when you actually look at it.
How much is, I'm sorry, you said 0.3 picojoule per bit?
I'm not gonna, yeah, we haven't announced a number, but that's our target. Okay. Yeah, 0.3, 0.4.
Okay.
Quick question regarding the other than the edge AI you mentioned, I guess market and application. What do you have in mind? Are there sort of priorities in terms of applications?
Well, I think what we're doing is addressing, as I said, the edge AI, because that's I think somewhat low-hanging fruit, right? And we are really focused on working with partners because we're a small company, right? So we are talking to some people, as I mentioned, who are doing memory devices. And as an example, I mean, it's obvious, right? If you need, you'll need. Let's just take the people we're talking to. They build flash memories, right? So if you could have a flash die has a low power, higher speed interface that can be used for security, which is a big area for chiplets, right? As well as loading up the code for the processing and so on, right? So we're not going to manufacture that. That'll be manufactured by a partner, right? And I think the same thing would apply to microcontroller manufacturers or sensor manufacturers that want to have or mixed signal manufacturers. If you look at A to D converters, just using another example, right? They currently have to use something called JESD, which is very power sensitive and also has some latency issues. There is an issue with the current standards with the deterministic latency, but I think there's solutions to that we're discussing with some people. So yeah, we're a small company. We're taking it one step at a time, as you know, sure. Right? So AI is in and of itself is an interesting one. I would say RISC-V as compute, right? We see RISC-V as being a huge opportunity in the edge area, right? Currently, a lot of people use their own proprietary lower-end CPUs or microcontrollers, and I think the edge is going to get smarter, or has to get smarter, right? And that I think is another significant opportunity where having the ability to, for example, either have a very small 32-bit RISC-V or a 64-bit, out of order core with with a TPU. I mean, there's so much innovation going on there. And we expect a whole range of AI chiplets. So having an efficient way to connect to them and for people to use them, I think is a pretty significant opportunity.
Right. And what kind of size of market TAM you kind of come up with for this market?
Well, that's a private conversation, but if you look at some of the wild projections, people are talking about $30-40 billion type market, and we're just hoping to hit 100 million in 4 or 5 years, right? That's kind of our which we'll be very happy with that. So.
No, I think the IIoT also, I mean, I went and worked for energy company, ABP for a while, and SCADA and a lot of other energy and other segments, they also can benefit from this kind of thing. Basically shrinking the board into the chips, but chiplets.
Exactly, and there is and even people are sort of monitoring motors and they're using AI to do that now, right? So trying to predict failure, because, for example, with the grid, we're a customer that we're talking with, and if the transformer blows, I mean it's, let's say you're not in the US where there is redundancy to a certain extent, right? If you're in Brazil, for example, you know, it goes out, well, it may take 6 months to replace it. So if you have a large group of people that don't have electricity for 6 months, that's a real problem, right? So the other thing is with IoT is security. So I think that the current devices really don't have security built in. So having a secure way of managing that is also very important for the energy and gas power type of markets too. So there's a number of areas that are being driven to going smarter and more secure.
Thanks. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. See, Bapi, I didn't say anything very controversial, right? I avoided that. So.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Prakash? Thank you. Since we have some time, I will do something which I don't usually have the time to do. Any opens? Kevin, whoever iPhone is it Taufik? iPhone? No, Taufik is T. Kevin or Jen, any opens?
None from me.
All right. Iban, Marek, anything on your minds?
Nope, nothing for me. Thanks.
David, Paul?
Nothing from me, thank you.
All right. Victor, Anu?
Nothing here, thanks.
Taufik, Alan?
Nothing here.
James Quinn?
No, for me, thanks.
Nope.
Andreas, Michael?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good too. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Michael, if you have any option of getting Samsung to participate, we're happy to.
Yeah, actually, I notified to foundry side, so
Okay.
I asked them to contact you guys directly. So yeah.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Trent and Kash?
Nothing for me today, Bobby.
Nothing, Bapi. Thank you.
Brian, Michael B.
Nothing from me. No, all okay with myself, Bobby too. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Majid, Bonchang?
I spoke enough. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, in that case, thank you to Kash and other participants and all of you. See you in about 7 minutes for the business meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you, Bobby.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.